Hey folks, Gene Kowalski, 756 captain in the DC domicile. Again, I was a PBS 1.0 instructor and I also was part of the launch cadre on electronic trip trading. With an update installment on PBS 2.0, I want to talk about one subtlety, a very powerful tool called lock. And I want to show you three examples. Now, it's not an exhaustive list, but it should give you a very good idea of not only how to use the tool, but what it'll look like in your bid. So the three reasons I want to talk about. One is to upgrade or downgrade in a multiple trip put. The next is to sort a specific desire within a bid. And then the last is really this cool idea of adding a band trip to a bid. So let's take a look at my bid. So what I was trying to do, I want to show you on the reports. What I was trying to do is get a bid that looked like this. I wanted a 3-day Europe tucked right up against my last February trip because I was trying to get most of this back half of the month off. I've got a personal trip that I'm taking. So a Europe and 2 Honolulus would work perfectly. And as it turned out, that's exactly what I got. I got London here and these two. But how did I want to emphasize? First, I wanted to emphasize London. So to do that, I decided to add a bid. I said, put any Honolulu layover in H4. Now, 11 trips match, but notice we only have 10. And if I go to this, the 11 that were matched were right here. One of them was a very different 4-day trip. These other are highly efficient 3-day trips all on the 400. But this other one stands out. So what I did was when it looked like this during the active bid, I locked this trip. So this is, once again, I want to emphasize, when I click on the trips matched, it shows like this. When I do the trips added to the pool, it now looks like this. Well, what happened to that 4-day? Well, that 4-day disappeared because it's not being added to the bid on this bid line. It's being added to the bid on this locked bid, H2 locked bid. Excuse me, this one right here, this ID 3052. So since the trip is added on this row, it no longer shows up here. But when I look in my trip pool, that 4-day Honolulu, there it is, ID 3052 on 12 February. It's a locked H2 trip. So hopefully that'll describe a little bit of how things are going to look. So then the next thing I wanted to do, right? So going back to our idea. So to upgrade or downgrade in a multiple trip put, I put Honolulu H4, but decided to downgrade the 4-day trip by locking it in H2. What's the next way we can do it? Sorting in a specific diary within the bid. So let's take a look at that. So within my bid pool, I needed to fly on the 1st of the month. So I'm going to ignore this trip on the 31st with my Geneva trip. I can't get that. So I was eligible to get this 3-day Honolulu, 3-day Zurich, 3-day Amsterdam, and a 3-day London trip. So there was no way to differentiate this any more easily than to do locked. So I ignored the Honolulu trip. It's in the bid already on an H4. But I awarded 3-day Europe on the 1st. So that's this trip right here, length of 3 days from the 1st to the 3rd. 4 trips matched, 0 are added to the pool. So if I go to the matched, here's those matched trips. Why were 0 added? This trip is added on my Honolulu put H4. It's not added by the 3-day line. But these 3 were there, right? These 3 were there, and they were all in neutral. They didn't have these values here. When I actually put them in the bid, notice to add it to the pool, that's empty. Why? Because I added them to the bid by locking them. So once again, those trips are up here. 3038 H3, that's Zurich. 3048 H2, that is London. 3044 H1, that is Amsterdam. So these are the lines that added those, When I go to my trip pool, there they are. Honolulu added by the H4 bid, not by the put anything on the first. This one because I locked them. So those locked bids move their ad from the 3-day ad to the locked row. And then I end up with this. Hey, add all 3-day trips on the first, 4 trips matched, but they're getting there. 1 by the Honolulu bid, 3 by the locks, 0 added to the pool. So the last one's kind of cool. I needed this. I'm going to go to my reports. I needed my bid to look like this. I needed to be out from the 18th to the end of the month. But I couldn't guarantee that I could get these very low time bids with 3 highly efficient trips. So I built myself an out. The out was the 1st of March. I've got an event I need to be due on the 28th, but I could fly in the evening of the 1st and I could still make it. So in this particular instance, I went to my bid, called it Add 1 March, right? And on this one, all I did was I went into my trip pool and I went all the way to the bottom to the 1st of March. And these trips have been added, but how did they get there? I got them there by going to the ban. So let's just take a look at L1 Lisbon on the 1st. Where was it? It was in a ban. Ban all trips from the 17th of February until the 11th. I banned 146 trips here. But if I look in this total trips banned, those trips there that I added aren't there. If I go to this one, if I go to this bid where they weren't added, and I go to that ban, here's ban all that flying. Tell you what, I'm going to go up. I'm going to go up just a little bit further. So there are 146 trips banned by this ban. I'm going to click on it. I'm going to go to the bottom. Here they are. They're banned. They don't show up. But during the bid, you can unlock and add these. And that's exactly what I did. I unlocked and added the late departure trips, Lisbon, London, and Dublin. I unlocked and added them. So they now show up in these later bid groups. I go to look at the trip pool. And now at the bottom, I've added trips. And I got them there. I can't emphasize this enough. I got all of these trips on the 1st of March there. From going to the banned trip pool. I had banned all the trips in this pool. And I looked for trips on the 1st that I wanted. And I locked them and gave them a priority. So they would show up in the bid. So that's my last method. Adding trips from a banned bid selection. Because I don't want any trips here. I want just the ones on the 1st. So I get some carry out flight time in order to try and make a low amount of flight time early in the month work. So once again, to reemphasize, the 3 methods are upgrade or downgrade in a multiple trip put. I put Honolulu H4 and then downgraded the 4-day because it was less desirable. To sort of specific desire in a bid, I had added all the 3 days on the 1st. As it turned out, 4 were eligible. 1 was already in my bid because it was there on the Honolulu. And then the other 3, I sorted them on which ones I wanted PBS to choose for me first. But because they're locked, they'll show up in every single bid group, which was going to make my day. If I could get a 3-day tucked up against my last February trip, it made it much easier to get the last half of the month off. And then finally, if you click on the trips banned by a banned area, you can go through and surgically unlock and add 1 or 2 trips that are specifically going to solve the problem of I don't quite have enough flight time in this bid, and this is going to work. Keep the questions coming in the comments. Look for these bids as I continue to add them. And again, on Tuesday of this week, I'm going to add a vacation bid. That'll be there as the first round of annual vacation bidding 2026 starts. Thanks for following. Have a great day.